The basic idea in my work is to make the wind visible. Yeats wrote a poem about distinguishing the difference between the dancer and the dance. The pieces we make are physical objects to show that movement, that dance. But my interest is in the dance, isolating the dance. So take the yellow zinger behind me. If it curves at all and wiggles and waggles, that's the wind's doing. The wind is the artist, not me. The wind is the choreographer. The wind is the thing where the interest is. So you're seeing the wind, which you couldn't otherwise see with a naked eye.
Sculpture in Motion is an exhibition of kinetic sculpture, including works by 16 artists. Kinetic simply means that it moves, and the motion is created by different phenomena.
All of the pieces at the exhibit right now move, and they move in different ways. So they move from wind. We have pieces that are solar-driven, sound-driven, and even driven by the kinetic nature of people, because we can move some pieces in this, or at least one piece in this exhibition. But the key here is everything's in motion.
When I first started looking at art and studying art, the art that moved me was art that I could walk into. So I'm not really content to make a little object that sits there, but something you can actually immerse yourself in, walk around, be a part of. I liked working on things that moved and physically making things. So I started creating paintings in the air. And that was a kind of space that people didn't usually use. I didn't want to have something just blobbed there in the middle of the floor, but hanging things was kind of fun.
I started doing kinetic sculpture in my sort of second year in college, and it kind of came from a number of different things. One was my fascination with machines and what you can do with machines and building machines. And the other is that I wanted to punch through the barrier between the viewer and the artist, and the viewer and the art. So the way to do that is to involve people directly. And the way that I found to do that is to make it kinetic and interactive. Because when you come up to a 5-ton rock, the last thing you expect to do is to be able to spin it with one finger. Rather than being some precious object on the wall, it's suddenly this thing that they could involve themselves physically, directly.
What I like is of course, creating these things. I think it's just the fact that I like it because I can do it. I have the ability, use my mind, use my hands, and come up with something that is almost alive.
When you work with plants or you do art, you have this power of observation. And artists have a way of looking at the world and being inspired by the forces within that world and the things that they see.
Most of my life I painted images about relationships, and they were human relationships, and they could be functional, dysfunctional, and I was fascinated with just how much individuals can impact one another's lives, either directly or indirectly. What happened with this work is the most fundamental thing I could possibly think of to show the relationships themselves as such, and a little less emphasis on the players as the dynamic situations that unfold between them. There's an aspect of unpredictability as well as the randomness, and it's more about the unpredictability that, you know, we really want to control things, and in this case it's not, you can't say like little dog come here. They respond and you influence it, but you cannot control it or manipulate it.
The wonderful thing about kinetics too is that it's very storytelling, and because it is always changing compositions, and I love wind motion and water motion when it is most random, because for one thing it gives my sculptures the depth of an ever-changing composition and ever-changing dance. Whereas with, you know, mechanized repetitive motion, you can kind of predict it, but this It's just like it's constantly surprising, and they just sort of allow people to relax and release and to kind of get outside their stressful little world.
I like listening to what people think and what they get out of it, because there's always more than I imagined in the beginning.
I want people to read as many things as possible. I don't want them to have a consistent reaction. I want them to connect the dots. I want 5 people to have 6 different reactions.
When you see yellow zingers just moving, that beautiful yellow serpent moving between the trees, it's really magical. And I've heard so many different visitors describe it in different ways, from a Chinese dragon, you know, to a yellow serpent, to just beautiful yellow streamers through the trees. So it evokes different images for different people.
When I see reactions from various people all around the world, wherever they've been shown or displayed, I always get a sense that people are thinking, and perhaps a lot about the how, but also the what. They see, they can project very easily onto a sphere anything. The biophysicist is going to see one thing, marriage counselor is going to see another thing.
I like people to stop and just look up, and just like a slightly open mouth is a very good reaction. A smile is a great reaction.
Sometimes when I'm looking at a moving sculpture, I start to move, when sort of not knowing it, but I'm all of a sudden moving, and I find that very powerful. And you know, it would be nice to see a whole crowd of people going like this as they watch the sculpture.